Anyway, hello there, kings and queens. Welcome back to another episode of Faith Helps Podcast. And I'm your host, Dr. Diamond Booth. Still getting used to it. It's probably gonna take me a couple years to get used to it. But I like the ring of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop right into this one. And I don't have notes today, but I got the word. I got the word. I don't have my notes, but I got the word. And it's notes in my word. So I got the word and I got the notes. But I want to share a little bit of something. As I've told you guys before, whatever, oftentimes what I'm sharing, also, disclaimer, I'm in my room. The doggos are here. If you don't know who the doggos are, shame on you for not following me on Instagram. You would know who the doggos are if you were following me on Instagram at Dr. DRDYMOND Booth BOOTH. So you might hear them in the background doing their doggo thing. But anyway, as I've said before, whenever I do share these stories and the information that I present to you guys, oftentimes it's things that God is also working on in me or things that I've gone through and have learned from and want to share it so that you guys don't run into the same lessons and blockades and ditches that I ran into. So just sharing that. With that being said, the Lord decided to snatch me up earlier today, and so I was. There's kind of been like this theme for me lately of something that I'm believing for, not to overshare, but there are certain things that have a time constraint attached to them, and I have had conversations with the Lord about wanting to be in his timing, wanting to honor his timing, not trying to move ahead of him, and at the same time having faith that God can do things in a short amount of time and what other people and what we may consider a short amount of time, right? And this kind of was a reaction I was having to a lot of sermons and just messages I was hearing people share about, oh, it's going to take some time. What you're believing for is going to take some time. It might be a couple years. It might be a decade. Just stay with it. Stay with it. Stay with it. And I was like, that's cool. That's all great in dandelions. And that is a word for somebody. And I have even spoken that to people before if I felt so moved or if I was seeing that God was revealing to me that it was going to take time for certain things. I do not believe that every single thing in our life and every single thing that we're believing for and every single thing that we're pursuing is going to take time. And I don't believe that just because it happens at what we would consider an accelerated rate does not mean that the quality is less than, or does not mean that it's going to be subpar, or does not mean that it's a bad thing. And I think a lot of times, because we see that it has taken time for some people, we think that that's everyone's testimony, and that's not the case. And that is kind of like the gist of like what I was speaking to. And so I've been praying and in my prayer time and in my devotional time, the conversation between me and the Lord is me holding steadfast the faith that God can do expeditious miracles. God can turn things around sooner than we think. God can allow breakthroughs, and whether it be elevation or whether it be through your financial breakthrough, whatever it is that you're believing for, can happen faster than you think. That grad school debt does not have to take 20, 30, 40 years to pay off. And I don't believe that's going to be my testimony. You do you, boo. You believe what you want to believe. But as for me and my house and my faith and my heart and my mind and my relationship and my intimacy with the Lord, that's not going to be my testimony. And what I've seen when I look in the word is a pattern of God rewarding people for holding steadfast to the faith that they have. And the thing that immediately has been coming up to me ever since July 18th of this year, my birthday, I told you guys, and you may have saw, I went to Sight and Sound, love Sight and Sound, and I saw the Noah's presentation. and went up for prayer at the end and all that. But what was speaking to me and what has always spoken to me and always resonated with me about Noah's story is no one believing him. No one believing what he was having faith for. Everyone thinking he was crazy. I feel the same way about Joseph's story. Everyone thinks he's crazy. No one believes him. And everyone's looking at him like crazy. And they just held on to their faith in the dream, the vision, the message that God gave them. And God rewards that. It is our due diligence and duty to stay steadfast in holding on to that. Now, at the same time as I was mulling over this and just praying, like, God, if there is a part of my heart that is just being resistant and stubborn to what you're trying to tell me, expose that to me, reveal that to me, like, allow me to not miss the messages because we just spent too much time missing the messages, all that, right? And I felt there's times when I know the Lord has said something, and then there's times when I was like, hmm, not so sure. It feels like it could be a God voice. It feels like it could also just be my crazy faith voice. Um, but what occurred to me as I was just like getting up from that prayer time and was walking, so clearly it was a statement of, you don't even realize how much time you've already invested. And I was like, oh, oh. And I realized, it dawned on me, a lot of times, and I don't believe that this is just me, a lot of times we don't realize how much time we have already invested in something. We think that the time clock starts when we realize a thing. So, to be a bit more specific, just for clarity of this explanation, say you are 20 years old. Or no, let's use the example of you're 40. Let's add some pressure to it. You're 40 years old and you are sitting at your desk at your 9 to 5 and you finally realize, like, oh my gosh, God has been calling me to do ministry. I'm sorry, y'all. It is something trying to like take my eye out and I refuse to be taken out. But anyway, you're 40 years old, you're working your 9 to 5, and it dawns on you that you haven't been feeling fulfilled, and it dawns on you that God has been calling you into ministry, right? Or just a different career path that you haven't considered before. Or maybe you did consider it before and you gave up on it. And you're like, I need to make this change. I need to start working towards this. And you think in your mind that because you realized it at 40, that now the time for you to build up to that career, it starts then. And that's not true. It starts once God placed you on this earth. There is so many experiences, so much knowledge that you gain throughout your life that has contributed to you getting to where God has intended you to be. So, using myself as an example, here I am, 30 years old, and my age has always been a thing in my atmospheres and rooms. Like, it's always a thing. It's always, you're too young to this, you're too young to that, you're too young. Um, and I've shared about that before. I've shared about how I feel about my voice and always being told I have a baby voice, all that. Watch the other episodes and you'll get the tea, baby. Anyway, so 30 here I am, 30 years old, and I have this resolve and made up my mind that I am going to wholeheartedly fully pursue investing in myself and my dreams, my business, starting Faith Helps, which I just did this year, and starting my own journey as a independent clinician as an independent life coach. And the other added things as far as like being an author, like all those things, right? And as I like reflect on it, there's often times where I feel like, man, I'm so behind the curve. Like, I'm just now realizing this at 30. I watch the School of Hard Knocks a lot, And if you guys watch it, oh my goodness, like it's very motivating, very inspiring to hear these millionaires and these billionaires talk about their breakthroughs and their journeys. And a common theme is often, oh, it takes so much time, or it's just going to take time to get there. But what stands out to me are the people who says it doesn't actually take that long. It actually doesn't take as much time as you think. But anyway, let's come back to the point. Um, Here I am, 30 years old, feeling like I'm behind or whatever. And man, I wish in my 20s I had done this. I wish I did this in my 20s. I wish I had started in my 20s and feeling like I'm behind. And as I'm having this resolve, coming back, I've been hopping all around, but I'm glad y'all staying with me. Coming back to me, getting up from that devotional time and that prayer time and walking and hearing so clearly like you invested more than you think, it dawned on me 10 years I have been in school as far as grad school. 10 years I've been investing in my knowledge in psychology. 10 years I've been investing in my growth as a clinician. 10 years I've been investing in my growth and development as as a steward of people's minds and their hearts, and more importantly and more passionately in my heart, their trauma and their suicidality, their lowest moments. Plus more than 10 years for that, because before I even got into grad school, and before undergrad, I was already working in the field of mental health and working with trauma disorders, and working in an inpatient hospital as a mental health worker and doing one-on-one sessions that now in hindsight I'm like that was basically many therapy sessions. Um but anyway, as I reflect on it, I was like, "Oh man, I have done a lot." And I remember in like certain interviews, people would say, like, "You've done a lot," when they were reviewing my resume. And it never phased me because I didn't feel like I've done a lot. I didn't feel like I've done enough. So when they would say, "Oh, you did so much," I'm like, it don't even feel like it was that much to me. And I was reminded of Genesis, here, Jacob's story. The specific verse is Genesis 29, verse 20. And it says, "And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days, for the love he had to her was great." For the love he had to her. I thought it said for the love he had to her was great, and I added in there. It don't say that. It says for the love he had to her, and I'm adding in stuff. That's what it says. Um, but I was reminded of that because all of those years that I've invested, all those years that people are like, "Oh, you have done so much, you had so much experience," and da 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 da. I never counted it, and I never really, I guess, like it never really hit me like that much because I loved what I was doing. I loved learning. I still love learning. I loved working on the trauma disorders unit. I loved working with my clients and my patients. I loved learning about the mind. I loved going to the trauma conferences. I love studying the mind. I love studying suicidality, what works, what doesn't work. I love studying alternative medicine for trauma, and studying alternative medicine for mood disorders. Like, I loved it. I was passionate about it. So it seemed but just a few days to me, right? And so as I'm sitting with this, I'm like, wow, how many of us are thinking that, oh, just because you're just now realizing what you're supposed to be doing with your life, or it's just now coming to your mind what you should be investing your time in and the career path you should be on, you feel like you're late, but you're not, because you don't realize how much you've already invested in it. And let's say maybe you weren't in school for what you're pursuing. Let's say the career shift or the life shift you're about to make, you don't see any obvious past experience that you could put on a resume when you look back over your life. Every conversation you had with somebody, every interaction you've had with somebody, every time you've gone to a conference, a training, or learned something, even if it was in a job that you hated, you were gaining something. It taught you patience. It taught you resilience. It taught you dedication. It taught you stewardship. It taught you responsibility. It taught you insight. It taught you critical thinking. All of these are practical skills that you need for wherever God is calling you to. If God is calling you to be a surgeon and to make that career shift, baby, do it. Because he will bless you. He will gift you to be able to retain knowledge. I don't care how old you are. He will bless you to be able to retain knowledge like no one else. When I was in my graduate program, there was a woman who was young in spirit. Oh, I'm just digging this ditch deeper and deeper. There was a woman who was well in age. She was seasoned, y'all. But she shared her age. She was like 70 something. And I think it was like 71 or just turned 70. And she was super, super devoted and enthusiastic and like insightful and wise every time she came to class. Like she was so energetic about it. It wasn't this, oh, I'm behind. I'm just now starting to get my doctorate at 70, or I spent all this time. She was previously an RN, and then she had this epiphany that God had been calling her to become a counselor. And so she's like making this shift now. And she didn't look at it as, oh, dang, I'm starting from scratch or I'm starting from blank slate. All that experience she had as an RN applies here. All that experience she had in her other jobs, because she had all types of jobs she had worked before. At one point, she was working for Amazon. You working at Amazon still applies to this experience, to this new journey that she's on, because you have to learn how to think fast. You have to know how to be strategic and be organized. You need to learn time management. All of that applies to the her pursuit in being a counselor. So you're not starting from a blank slate. So whatever you're starting, whatever you're pursuing, whatever you're working towards, don't feel like you're starting on a blank slate, and don't feel like you're late or you're behind. You've invested more time than you know. You invested more experience, more education, more studying than you realize. Take an inventory. Here's my challenge to you. Take an inventory over what you have learned just from your life, not from a classroom, not from a course or a professor, just from your lived experiences. On my website, I always forget how many W's, www.faithhelps.coach. I have resources on there that walk you through how to how to examine and extract the wealth of knowledge you already have in your arsenal that you may not even realize. A lot of us are sleeping on some skill sets that we have just been allowing to lay dormant because we've discounted them, or we don't realize how valuable they are, or we don't see how they apply to what we're pursuing. Whatever you're pursuing, you baby, I promise you, there are lived experiences you have. There are some things that you've seen or witnessed, gone through, overcame. I don't care how small it was, I don't care how young you were. It applies now because it shaped who you are today. It grew you into the person that you are today. And it can be an asset to the future that you are working towards. So don't discount yourself just because you think that the timeline and the watch or the clock starts when you realized it. Newsflash, it started the moment God decided to put you in your mother's womb. Before you were even formed, it started then. Before you can even have a concept of time, it was already written who you were going to be. And God knows that He got your back. All you have to do is stay faithful, stay focused, and stay dedicated. Keep your eyes on Him. Stay connected to God. A lot of people say, focus on the kingdom. Yes, stay connected with God, though, because you're not going to focus on the kingdom if you're not connected to God. Stay connected. Have a relationship with God so He can show you, go this way, a little to the left. Oh, okay. A hurdle's coming up. Get ready to jump. Brace yourself for impact, but you're going to make it. God in relationship gives you the cheat codes. He brings back to your remembrance the things that you've learned that you don't even realize that you've been sleeping on. You got skills. You got some skin in the game. Even though you don't think you do, You got skin in the game. And don't let nobody tell you that you are too inexperienced or too young or too unqualified or not enough for what God called you to. They are not God. If God told you this is what you're going to be, then that's what you're going to be. If God said, this is what I'm calling you to, then baby, you pursue it wholeheartedly. And at the same time, we do got to stay humble. We don't want to get so puffy and full of ourselves and arrogant that we just start disrespecting people and throwing shade and just being rude, right? We don't want to do that either. Stay humble. Guard your ears, but don't guard them to the point that you're blocking out wise counsel. I still allow my mentors, I still allow close, godly, trusted, invested, wise friends to speak into my ear on the path that I'm on. I talk with them about what I am doing. And when I say them, it ain't that many because you can't have everybody in hands in what God is telling you. And there are certain things that are only between me and God. Some things are only between me and God. And I sit with Him and we work it out, we talk it out, we walk it out. So I hope this encourages you to realize and take inventory over how much you've already invested in the journey that you're on. You're not starting from scratch, baby. Baby, you got a whole you got some duffel bags and a truckload. You got an 18-wheeler full of experiences that are a testimony. And your testimony is the answer to someone else's breakthrough. Your testimony is the solution to someone else's problem. Do not sleep on what you already got. You already got it. It's already in the bag. You ain't got to throw it in the bag. Okay? That's my encouragement for you guys. I hope that this helps. I hope that this inspires you. I hope that you like the new space. I'm still working it out, but we're doing it. All right? Because what? The Lord loves to see a work begin. And so just keep beginning. In your head, if you feel like you're just beginning, just keep on beginning. Because in reality, you started way, 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 way back. You just don't even realize it. But if it gives you any peace, if it gives you any solace, just take a moment, say, it's okay. I know that I've invested a lot. I know that I've learned a lot. And right now, I'm not going to beat myself up for feeling as though I'm behind because that's not going to help me. That's going to distract me from my focus. I'm going to lock in, stay focused, stay devoted, stay dedicated, and continue working. And remember, faith helps.